Have you ever had a prospect agree to buy and then throw a last-minute concession request into the mix? Let's look at how to handle some common negotiating techniques used by buyers, this time on Sales Talk with Joe. Whether you've been in sales for years or just starting your sales career, or even just considering a career in sales, Sales Talk with Joe is designed to help you become more successful. We've gone through the process of bringing a customer to a purchasing decision. You believe in the sale, you've done your homework on your product or service, your competitors, and you're knowledgeable about your industry. You got yourself in front of a good prospect. You asked high-yield, open-ended questions and learned what their wants, needs, and desires are. You skillfully matched your product or service to those goals. The prospect agrees that they're going to purchase from you. Just as you're about to wrap it up, they say something along the lines of, "There's just one little thing I need to get this done." When they tell you what that little thing is, it's not so little. Suddenly, it looks like the whole purchase is going to go off the rails if you don't get the concession the prospect asked for. You go back and try to review everything the customer agreed to, and they agree, but the concession is still on the table. What just happened? It's important to remember that, especially when dealing with trained buyers, that your prospects want to be assured they have the best possible deal from you. It's instinctive, and buyers are trained in this. One of the more common techniques that prospects will use to get concessions is called nibbling. Nibbling is a very effective technique for a buyer because of the timing of when it's employed. The seller believes they have a customer purchase because of how the process proceeded. Psychologically, they don't want to lose that purchase, and they may be more willing to make concessions, so the theory goes. And it often works exactly that way. I can remember going to my superiors at various companies over the years before I knew what the buyer was doing to me and saying, "Come on, we've got this big order hanging. Let's give them what they want this time. I'll tell them it's a one-time deal and not something we can do every time." The problem is once you do it, they want it every time. Aggressive buyers will try to nibble multiple times. What do you do against this tactic? I read an interesting book called No, the Only Negotiation Strategy You Need for Work and Home by Jim Camp. The premise the author proposed is that your first response to a concession request should always be no. His theory is that those requests have a few motivations. One is that the requester is testing the boundaries, seeing if you put everything on the table or if you're holding something back. The second is that the requester may need to get a concession to satisfy their superior. There are times when professional buyers are under directives to get concessions to justify their existence. For whatever reason or reasons your customers or prospects are asking for a concession, you may want to consider making your first answer always a no. When you give them a concession too quickly, you create an attitude of "that's not the bottom. I need to ask for more." If it's a customer you're doing business with, they may think, "Why wasn't I getting that from the start?" There's another negotiation tactic called anchoring. Anchoring is where one or two of the people involved in the negotiation proffers the first condition or demand. The commission or demand is usually quite aggressive. The idea is you're establishing an anchored position that's essentially not movable, and the negotiations move towards the anchor. The person that set the anchor may move at the very end to appear that they aren't being unreasonable, but they still get virtually everything they want. Yet another common tactic is called the red herring. The customer will make many demands all at the same time. One or two are completely outrageous. They're there purposely. They're designed to be throwaways. The person that first proposed them isn't expecting to get them. They just want something to concede so they can get what they really want. As you're negotiating the requests, they'll concede those items to keep the real ones. So what's the best way to deal with these type of negotiation techniques? I've been in negotiations many times where customers and prospects have used these, and frankly, before I knew what they were, I fell for them. Once I had training on what they were, I found that letting the customer know that I knew what they were doing had the most impact. I remember a negotiation where a prospect threw out several red herrings. I didn't know them that well and didn't want to offend them, yet at the same time I wanted to neutralize the tactic. When we got to the red herrings, I said, "These are definitely not possible. I hope they're your throwaways." That statement alerted the customer to the fact that I knew what they were doing, and the negotiation became much more straightforward afterwards. There are many more negotiation techniques to be aware of. At this point, the best thing to do when you suspect a prospect or customer is using a negotiating technique on you is to just say no. You'll find out what's really important to them quickly. You can then go back to the skills we've already covered and reestablish your value proposition. I'm Joe Ferguson. Thanks for watching. Please leave a comment about what you've seen. If you liked what you saw, hit the like button, share this video with someone that might benefit from it, leave a comment, and subscribe to this channel. If you have a product or service that you think would be a good match for my viewers and are interested in sponsoring these videos, please email me. My email is in the description below. Make sure you keep a watch out for the next Sales Talk with Joe. I upload every Thursday. Thanks, and see you again for the next Sales Talk with Joe.